Okay, so...
Here we go.
Hey, there you are. It's one of those I can't see you live yet. But I'm live on Facebook right now.
Can you see me?
I see your profile photo. And
okay, you should be able to see me. Hang on, let me check, make sure my...
Oh, wait a second. Something just happened.
There we go. Yeah?
Yes, I can. Can you see me at all?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sweet, man, because I don't have one of those little thumbnails of my own situation. I just see you, but that's all I need. We are having, once again, massive technical difficulties, but we are live, and we are here with Kevin Estrella, who's basically the brains and the front man of Pyramids on Mars. He is the creator, the originator, and the dictator. And we are very fortunate to be live on Skype. So you guys could just see me on Facebook Live. I resorted to literally like holding my phone so that I could like text with people and whatnot, because we couldn't do it from the computer while you were on Skype. So everybody, bear with RAWKHOUSE, man. We're technically retarded right now, but we're gonna get our shit together at some point. And I'd like to formally and officially welcome to our show, which is our second show today. We just did a recording of a previous episode, Mr. Kevin Estrella from Pyramids on Mars. Kevin, how the hell are you? We spoke about 2 months ago, but that episode didn't air because of additional technical difficulties. So I do want to do like a catch-up. I know. I do want to do like a little overview. We can kind of reintroduce ourselves. I'd like you to talk a little bit about yourself. You don't have to repeat everything that you said last time, because that's not cool to ask anybody to do. But I am going to ask you some questions that will touch on some of the stuff that we previously discussed. So do bear with me. I do apologize for that. We're trying to get our shit together on the show. We got a lot of people tuning in to check us out on Facebook. And I'm hoping to turn a lot of people onto your stuff. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself once again, and I'll probably interrupt you 10 or 20 times before you're done.
Sure. I'm Kevin Estrella. Pyramids on Mars is who I am. I call myself the Joe Satriani from the mystical red planet. What you see behind me, that's my latest CD, Echo Cosmic.
Oh, wow. There. Okay.
And yes, we released that back in 2015. Yeah, so, and spent the year promoting that. It's been, where do I even start? I'm a very, obviously, a lot of people know there's a lot of layers to what's happening with Pyramids on Mars.
Well, that's what I wanted to talk to you. I'm sorry, Kev. That's what I wanted to talk to you about. But before we get into it, I wanted to let everybody know, because most of my listeners right now, they're like, who is this guy? You know, like, who is that? Why should I care? And I want to just explain real quick to some of the people that are tuning in. My producer actually told me about you, and otherwise I had not heard of you myself. But I was very intrigued because of the name of your band, which is Pyramids on Mars. I've always been fascinated by the topic of ancient ruins that have been reportedly discovered by satellites that have been in the Martian orbit, that were not revealed deliberately by NASA, but that were discovered by independent sort of like solo astronomer hobbyists, or even more serious scientists as well. And so there's sort of this underground scene that's delving into the details, and it's quite astonishing. And obviously that is something that struck a chord with you as well as myself, but you took it to the next level where you actually made a band about it called Pyramids on Mars. I've watched your videos. It's incredibly like intellectual music. You're only a 3-piece. So tell my audience how the name came about, how you guys got started, who's comprised of the band. And I also want to just drop a nugget that I know recently you've had some actual involvement with Steve Vai, who's like is that correct? You've had some, okay.
Yes.
So I'm dropping the name Steve Vai because I got to keep people interested, and I think like, whoa, Steve Vai, that's like Jimi Hendrix, dude. I mean, that's like legendary status, one of the top 5 guitar players of all time kind of caliber. and you're working with him in some capacity, or you're discussing things with him. So I'd love to hear about that. I'm going to turn the floor over to you and tell us some stuff. You also had some very interesting UFO-related experiences, which I find fascinating. Your story blew my mind, and I'd love to hear some of that again. If you could try to sum it up as much as you could, you know, maybe talk like one of those auctioneers, you know what I'm saying? But no, if you could just run us through the whole show, and if I have any questions, I'll let you know. Thank you for being on the show today, man.
Yeah.
Go ahead, bro.
Cool. Yeah, so the name Pyramids on Mars came to me from, it was a drummer by the name of Virgil Donati. He was in a band called Planet X with Derek Sherinian on keyboards and Tony McAlpine on guitar.
Planet X, wow.
He had his own a solo album called Serious Young Insects, and there's a song on there which was called Pyramids on Mars, and that just rang with me. And I already knew about the pyramids on Mars that existed, the D and M pyramids in the Cydonia region, which are a few miles away from the face on Mars. So
allegedly, yep. Go on.
Yeah. So I wanted to. It was a perfect image for a band, I thought, because I basically reserved that name for my solo project, that I would use that name years and years, later. And then I created Pyramids on Mars with the intention of basically creating instrumental rock music, very much in the style of Joe Satriani, but he's more of a blues player, and I'm more from the school of Yngwie Malmsteen. So my playing is very classically influenced. I spent 2 years of my life dedicated to listening and playing nothing but Yngwie Malmsteen, inside and out. But I didn't want to become another Malmsteen clone, so I decided I wanted to go and start listening to his influences. Because if you really want to get to know somebody, you got to listen to what they listened to.
Right.
And then I was introduced to Bach and Vivaldi, and then my life completely changed. It was like hearing music for the first time. It was completely different and complex. Bach's works were, his melodies, changes. It was like being in another universe. And so I decided that's what I wanted to do musically, was basically combine classical music, like real classical music, not this, the stuff you hear on the radio, like these neoclassical guitar players who they all sound like cookie cutters of everybody else, because they don't really listen to real classical music. They listen to guitar players playing classical music.
Right,
That's not the same thing.
Yep.
So So all I listen to is Bach and Vivaldi and Meshuggah.
Okay.
So my ultimate goal is to create music that sounds like Joe Satriani with the melodic sense of Bach and Vivaldi, but with the crazy, déjante like Meshuggah. So you throw all that into the mix, and you got yourself some of the most complicated music on the planet.
Sure, man. I've heard your shit. So I'd like to know. Some of my audience right now might want to check out what we're talking about. So real quick, if you could just give us some instruction, if somebody wants to check out your band, where can they go to do that real quick?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Go to pyramidsonmars.com.
Pyramidsonmars.com. Awesome. Go ahead, bro.
That's right.
Tell us about tell us about your experience with the UFOs. I think that's really interesting, and I'd like to hear it again because I'm going to try to catch you in a lie. I'm going to try to catch you because you already told me the story, and I'm going to see if you repeat it exactly the same. So I'll let you know. If there's any inconsistencies, man, it's going to shatter my whole belief system, bro. So keep it to the facts, all right, man? Go ahead. Tell us about that. Tell us what happened.
Okay. Well, that's the one thing about it. You can tell whether somebody's lying or whether they're telling you the truth. If they tell the exact same story over and over again, that's pretty. He must not be lying.
That's right.
But I've told my story so many times and from so many different angles, and it keeps getting deeper and deeper. I honestly, the information that keeps coming to me keeps blowing my And I'll tell you about that a little bit about what I found out earlier this week about some synchronicities. And that's another thing people are going to understand is experiencers like myself. I'm on a special mission here on this planet, and my information, I've always known what my mission is on this timeline and why I'm here. And my UFO sighting was just an affirmation, basically, to tell me that now is the time you're being activated, now is time to get to work and get things going. So I've always known that I wanted, that my mission here on this planet was to raise consciousness and awareness of the ET presence, and I wanted to do it through my music, through Pyramids on Mars. That's the reason, that's why I have all these, these space images, and my music is very space oriented. I wanted to take that as a catalyst to help spread awareness and raise consciousness and vibration on this planet. And then little did I know that this was actually the affirmation when a interdimensional craft flew across my backyard August 21st, 2014. And I'll never forget it.
Right.
It was a life-changing experience. So, and what happened was, it was 10:30 at night, and I live in the city of Hamilton, so we have a population of 500,000, one of the largest cities in Ontario, Canada. And so I step out onto my deck, and within 7 seconds of me stepping out onto my deck, this object appears from behind the tree on my neighbor on my right. He's got this big tall tree, and at first I thought it was a meteor because it looked like it was on fire. It was orange and red, like it was glowing like hot coals, and it had this streaming stuff coming off the top of it and along the back. It was kind of streaming off the back, almost like steam or smoke or mist. And I was like, "What the heck is this?" And it just made its way across my backyard. It was 100 yards from me.
Wow.
Like, it was damn close.
Right.
Really close. It was only about maybe 1,000 feet off the ground, and when it finally came into full view, I was looking at a craft, like a flying saucer. It was the perfect, silhouette disc. Came up along the top and along the bottom. It was perfect symmetry. But the strangest thing about it was that it was two-dimensional. And what I mean by that is that it was like looking at a solar eclipse. If you look at a solar eclipse, it looks like a hole in the sky.
Right.
That's exactly what this thing looked like. It had no depth to it. It was just height and width and no depth. It was just like a hole in the sky, but it was like orange or red tie-dye. And so as it's going across my backyard, and it was only going about the speed of, say, a helicopter, it started to turn south. And as it turned south, it had more of its back towards me. And simultaneously while that was happening, the object itself, the color of it, started to fade away, and to the point where it had no light at all. It was just completely black. But as that was happening, at the same time, this white swirling vortex portal opened up at its nose and was kind of enveloping around it. And then by the time it had gone. So that's what I mean by this interdimensional craft came across my backyard, opened up a portal, and then disappeared.
Right. Now
you don't see every day.
No, absolutely not.
So,
that's a game changer right there. I mean, that must have shattered your whole paradigm of your just concept of reality. I mean, how did you deal with something so worldly, something that doesn't happen every day to anybody?
Well, the way you put it, it was perfect words. It completely shattered my paradigm because I had always hoped for a UFO sighting. But when it finally happened, I didn't react the way I thought I would react. I was really actually upset. I was shocked. I didn't know what I had saw. I couldn't even, it took me 6 months to try and piece together everything of this craft, of what I was looking at, because I didn't understand it. I found out 6 months later when I was watching a video of the sun to realize that what I saw streaming on the top and back of it was plasma. That's
right.
What I saw. It was covered in plasma. And so that made sense. As far as it being two-dimensional, nothing I've ever seen on TV or in the movies or on YouTube, I've never seen anything that's two-dimensional. So I knew that what I was looking at, it was not from here. It was not, I don't know where it came from.
Now, how has that changed your life?
What's that?
How has that experience changed your life ever since then? I mean, it's obviously made a huge impact. But what are the actual changes that have happened in your life since that occurred?
Everything's changed. My consciousness of my mission, of knowing what my mission is, became more and more apparent. And then I started getting these downloads in my dreams, information, and all these really amazing synchronicities that started to take place that were completely, that I realized that there were powers that be, that these, my star family are working behind the scenes to make these arrangements and do this stuff.
So what do you think? Kev, let me interrupt you real quick, because I'd like to ask, what do you think is going on? I mean, why? One of the things that I'm always curious about is if there are these aliens that are visiting and that are interested in select people or humanity as a whole, why are they staying so out of the scene, and why don't they just come down and take care of business? Why is this being dragged out? Is it that they're waiting for us to evolve in our consciousness, and they're not going to deal with us until we do? Is it because there's more people that don't believe in them than that do, and then there's a threshold? What are your thoughts about that?
Well, you're actually on the right track, and you're right. What's going on is there's a consciousness shift that's taking place on this planet. How do I explain it? We live on planet Earth in third density. Okay, this is a third density existence. It's almost a prison planet. We all feel like we're separated, and we're living in a false matrix that's put around us. And there's a lot of things that are put in place to keep us dumbed down from awakening and knowing who we truly are, because the powers that be want control.
Why?
The religious societies, the governments, there's things that have been put in place to basically try and control people from awakening. Because we can be here for 4 hours for me to try to explain it.
Well, you got something better to do, man? You got something better to do than my show?
Yeah. No, it's just great, because
I know.
I'll be able to explain all this, and this is why people have to tune in and listen to Pyramids on Mars.
Yep.
And listen to my radio show and hear what's going on, because I know what's going on. I'm working behind the scenes with many other experiencers. We are working night and day to help bring about disclosure. Kev,
let me interrupt you again, and I do apologize. There's a bit of a delay with the Skype, so I appreciate your patience with that. And to anybody who's watching too, I'm sorry about that. But on the note of disclosure, I've heard different people talking about how President Obama was going to be the one, and then Hillary was going to be the one, and it's on the cusp of happening. It's going to happen. 2012 is going to be disclosure. That didn't happen. And Dr. Stephen Greer, who has dedicated his whole life to the topic of disclosure and to bringing that reality about, and he's got friends in high places and everything. There was somebody on the Clinton's administration who's an advocate of disclosure. I don't recall his name right now. But now that Donald Trump has won the presidency of the United States of America, do you feel that that's a tremendous setback for the disclosure movement, or do you think that he gives a shit about disclosure? What's your take on that?
Well, I'm close friends with Grant Cameron, who is he's a world-renowned UFO researcher who's been doing this since the 70s. He was also part of the group that went against U.S. Congress about disclosure and pushing for. He was on the board of the Canadian Disclosure hearing that took place last year. He's well respected in the UFO community. He is also the expert in regards to the what the presidents know. His website is actually called Presidential UFO.
But do the presidents
he does a lot of research?
Do the presidents know? Do the presidents know anything? Aren't they like below the need to know level, or do they know?
They do know at certain levels, but they also are keeping their mouths shut. So I don't know. I know that they know stuff. How much they actually know is of question. Trying to get them to talk about the subject is a real dance. And Grant has worked many years researching to find out what people know. I mean, he's gone to the Clinton archives, their library, and done lots of research to find out what the Clintons have done in regards to the UFO and how much John Podesta has been trying to push.
John Podesta, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, as far as with Obama, Grant just recently published an article that, from what he's found out, that Donald Trump really has no interest in the UFO topic.
Not surprised.
So,
not surprised. UFOs don't buy real estate, you know. They just take it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah,
that's
he
not.
has no real interest in it. So I don't think from his presidency that he has a campaign of wanting to push things forward. But that being said, he doesn't control what's happening on the planet. It's our star families, and I don't like calling them aliens. It's a dirty word. It's our star families.
You know,
because in the very near future, we're going to be a galactic society, and we're going to be living amongst all of our galactic brothers and sisters in the very near future.
You know,
so we have to start referring to them as star families.
I like that. I like that,
So,
and I do apologize if I use sort of the I guess what's not the inappropriate description of aliens or whatever. I can understand why that sounds almost derogatory in a sense, and I love the idea of intergalactic, kinship. And having family that's out there. I mean, I personally believe there's got to be other life in the universe. I mean, we exist. Why wouldn't anyone else? That's just me. I'm not judging, and I'm not telling anybody what they should believe. But I love the idea of like an intergalactic community. But at the same time, it makes me wonder. They must have tremendously more advanced technology if they have the capacity, the ability to reach us, even on a with telepathic level or physically even. But why, if they're controlling things, why do we have this duality on this planet of good and evil? And why do we have one of the things that bothers me is the idea of justice, and there not being any when it comes to the corruption that happens in politics and the unnecessary dying of people in wars, and just people losing loved ones. I mean, it tears me apart, man, and I don't understand why that's allowed to happen.
Well, the thing is, there's a lot of truth in the movies that we watch that give little tidbits in regards to helping us understand and helping us to awaken things in our consciousness. And do you watch Star Trek: The Next Generation?
I've seen some, sure.
Okay. Do you know the Prime Directive?
Yes.
Non-interference.
Right.
That's basically they live by that's a code that they kind of go by. Sometimes they're able to break it a bit, and they will do things that are slightly out of what they're supposed to do. But the thing is that they're not going to land on the White House and say, hey, here we are, we've always been here. No, it doesn't work that way, because, as I said, we are in third density. The densities go all the way up to 12, and the higher you go in the densities, the more you realize that there is no that there is no separation from anything, because they're telepathic, but they're not only just telepathic. You feel their emotions. There's no division. You feel unconditional love coming from these beings, and I can tell you this because I'm friends with at least 3 or 4 dozen other experiencers who have either been on board a craft, have been with extraterrestrials, or they are hybrids themselves. I'm friends actually with a reptilian, and we'll get into that later.
You know, I gotta get both of you on my show, man. Can we make that happen? Is that possible?
Possibly.
Like sit right next to you. I would love to do like a 1-on-2 kind of situation there, and you know.
Well, she lives in Arizona,
okay.
but I can definitely get her on the show. Her name's Jojolie Kyuta.
Yeah, that's fascinating to me, man. So tell me how
she's a reptilian.
Tell me how you. I don't want to stick on that subject too much without her being here, so that I can question, you know, her about it. But tell us how you actually incorporate this message in your music. Like when you write your songs, you write them at a certain frequency, or like you were explaining that to me. That, like, can you talk a little bit more about that? It resonates with us on a different level. I don't want to say it wrong.
Absolutely. My music, when I started writing my first CD, some strange things started to happen, because when I'm writing my music, I'm in a very high spiritual state of spirituality, consciousness, and the energies that I put into my music, and the feeling, the emotion. It's all encompassing. I give everything to my music. But what was happening while I was writing my first CD, all of a sudden, all these moments of ESP were really starting to happen a lot, to the point where I could no longer ignore it. And I was even telling my supervisor at work, you know, all these crazy things that were going on, and it was just continuous of all this ESP that was happening. So was happening. I didn't know this at the time. This wasn't until I had my sighting when things all of a sudden started to unravel, and then I was able to back reverse engineer things and started to understand what was going on in the past. But I was tapping into a higher consciousness where there is no division, where I realized that we were all connected. And when I write, I also discovered in music in the last 2 years the importance of tuning your guitar from 440 hertz to 432 hertz. In fact, Michael Lee Hill and myself, Michael Lee Hill is Eric Clapton's son, we're very good friends. He and I just did a radio show last week on this subject, and we went into extreme detail in regards to the importance and significance of the 432 hertz frequency. And it's not just a frequency; it's actually it reflects in sacred geometry. It reflects in the speed of light. It reflects in music. It reflects in the Fibonacci golden ratio.
Kev, is that? Let me cut you off right there real quick, because I do have some questions about that. If you're like sort of a intermediate or beginner guitar player and you wanted to experiment with that, like, is it difficult to tune to that frequency? Is there like a YouTube video out there that can show people who don't know how to do it? How do you know when you're tuned into that frequency? I mean, I know standard tuning and I know how to drop D, but that's about it.
Well, actually, what you do is you buy a tuner that has a frequency modulator on it. Here, I'll show you. I've got one.
Okay.
So it's a tuner, because I went out to the store and I specifically said, I want a tuner that I can tune to 432 hertz. So you see this tuner here?
Uh-huh.
This here allows me to change the frequency. So right now, let me see this. One second.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
There we go. Okay. You see this?
Yes.
I've just calibrated it to 432 hertz.
Oh, wow.
So
how did you do that though? How did you do that?
Adjuster in the back here.
Ah.
Yeah, so there's a little adjuster. You press the button, and then with an up and down arrow, you can adjust the frequency from 440, and I tuned it down to 432.
Wow. So then you go ahead and you just do your standard tuning or whatever?
I just do my standard tuning, tune my guitar up like I normally would. The only difference is now that I've dropped my tuning down 8 hertz.
Uh-huh.
And this is the important frequency.
So
440 hertz is the imposter frequency.
How subtle of a difference is it? Like, can you tell on a conscious level that it's that, or no, it's not, right? You don't know.
Yeah. Well, yes, you do. You do feel it on a conscious level. You feel it also on the physical level. It's been proven through cymatics of the difference of what happens with 432 hertz. Now, what cymatics is, it's making the invisible visible. And what they're able to do is run sound and frequency through special plates of water, and they're able to basically videotape what geometric patterns are made in the waters to the different frequencies.
I know what you're talking about, yeah.
When you do that,
I've seen that.
When you do that with 440, it looks like a puddle. It's like complete dissonance. There's like no pattern to it whatsoever. When you back it up to 432, all of a sudden you get this absolutely incredible three-dimensional geometry.
Wow.
It's absolutely amazing.
That's fascinating.
Michael E. Hill sent me a picture of a cymatic image of 432 hertz that was recorded from his guitar, and the image he sent me was such high resolution that when I looked into it, I was looking so... doesn't that blow your mind? I swear to effing God, I saw binary numbers in it. I saw symbols along inside it.
Huh, wow.
I'm not kidding you.
No, I believe
and it was crazy. I couldn't believe it. I actually saw a 010 written inside this cymatic image, and then it looked like almost like alien writing, almost like inside one of the levels. It was, the detail was incredible.
Now
but
this
the
is
point is that
this is Eric Clapton.
This vibration.
Yeah. Go ahead, Kevin.
This vibration that's happening. So
well, you're talking about Eric Clapton's son. You said
yes.
That's Eric Clapton. How does Eric Clapton, does he know that his son is open to that type of thinking? Is Eric Clapton aligned with that type of thinking? Does he think it's nutty? That's interesting to me. Like, he must know that his son is, like, kind of like David Icke has a son who's a musician, you know what I mean? I don't know if you know about that, but apparently David Icke's son is like a really popular musician in Europe, like big time. And it kind of, to me, it reminds me about that, because you're in a family that's kind of known. There's a stigma to it, let's be honest. So Eric Clapton has like a very, mainstream type of persona, public persona. So it's interesting to me that his son would kind of deviate from that in that regard. Is that a problem in the family or no?
I've never heard Michael ever talk about it. I mean, he's the biological son of Eric Clapton. But he's never lived with Eric Clapton. He's lived with his mother, who's native.
Okay.
So he's Michael E. Hill's half native, half white. But he's never once mentioned. He doesn't really talk much about his about Eric Clapton.
Let me ask you a question.
I think Michael says he's.
Let me ask you a question. I appreciate that. Let's say you're doing like a drum circle, you're outside and you're doing like, everybody's got their like the djembe or their bongos or their congas or their rain sticks or whatnot. You're not tuned to that frequency in the sort of the rhythmic sense, or like, is it only things like a string instrument or like a woodwind? Like, can that be something that could be done rhythmically with a drum circle type situation? Because when I do drum circles, I like it to be a spiritual experience Not like, hey man, look how good I can play. I want it to be like we're honoring the gods type of situation. And I'd love to know that I was playing in that frequency where the water crystallization would be symmetrical and beautiful.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, you can play. You can have instruments tuned to 432 and still play percussive instruments over top of it. I mean, it's still all going to work. We will all be retuning to 432 hertz. When the planet finally wakens up and realizes that 440 is an imposter frequency that's been put in place to actually make us sick and put us in a certain kind of consciousness state, that's when people will start to understand and realize, hey, there's something going on here. Because, as I said, this balance, this geometry that shows up in physical form, that's happening at your cellular level. So if you think about it, when you listen to music at 440, which is complete dissonance, this dissonance is happening inside your body. So we're physically not functioning properly because we are not vibrating properly. This was done purposely to keep us down, to keep us from awakening, from feeling music the way we should feel it.
Now that's a heavy statement, because it's hard to really fathom and understand, like, how does that keep us down? Who cares what frequency I'm vibrating at? But I liken it to the whole concept of like the holy water. Like, what's the difference between regular water and water that's been blessed? And I know that there's like new studies and new experiments happening in quantum physics, which are demonstrating that, there are these like different ways that atoms react under different types of circumstances, like depending on who's watching them. So if like a priest, for instance, was to bless the water, or even anybody was to get a glass of water and maybe say a prayer with the water in mind, doesn't it affect that sort of crystallization, how the molecules interact with each other on a quantum level? Not to get too scientific on my show, but I'm sure I heard something about that. What do you know about that?
Well, I've seen lots of videos of that where the water will freeze depending on what energy is put out to the water. The water will crystallize differently. Even music, if you play a certain kind of music to water, as it freezes, it'll crystallize differently. But if you put, say, they did this in several ways. They even just like wrote a word, like the word love, and put that piece of paper underneath the water, and then froze the water.
Right.
And the beautiful crystallization that would take place. And then they would write the word Hitler. And put it underneath the piece of paper and freeze the water, and the water was nothing but complete dissonance. It was just ugly and just, it was horribly looking.
And that's because the person that's in the presence of the water has the association of sort of like negative when they hear the name Hitler versus love. It's positive. I'm just guessing that's how it works. So that person. Was there anyone in the room, or just they put the word under the water and then there was no one in the room? I would imagine there was someone in the room.
It was as simple as just writing out the word on a piece of paper and putting it underneath the water. But they've also done it in other ways of projecting emotion and energy, or being in a circle with a bunch of people and having positive thoughts that would change the structure of the water. And that's a secret. Water also has memory. It remembers everywhere that it's been, and it carries its memory. How do people, like, what does this mean? What it means is there is no division between anything, living or dead. Everything is connected. Everything is connected to everything. There is no separateness. It's all oneness.
Yeah,
and when we finally learn, the law of karma, that whatever energy that you put out into the universe is the energy that's going to come back to you, because there's no separateness. And this is the lessons that the Greys are teaching Sherry Wild, who I interviewed last week, and that I am trying to teach everybody, that they taught that these biggest lessons. And Steve I knows this stuff, by the way.
I was just going to ask you, man. You just read my mind. I was just going to ask you, does Steve Vai know, like, what's the situation with you and Steve Vai? Does he know, like, where you're coming from and that you're associated with this whole scene? Or does he just,
yes,
what
absolutely.
is he open-minded to that? Talk to me about Steve Vai and how he deals with what you're involved in.
Well, actually, one of the tweets that I've been putting out, because I've got a huge Twitter following. One of the tweets I'm putting out is I actually wrote Steve Vai knows the secret of the ETs. Here's an interview with Steve Vai, and here's my interview with Sherry Wild and what the Greys taught Sherry Wild, the second law. And Steve Vai knows the second law, which is mind your thoughts, because your thoughts create reality. Every thought that you have has an energy to it, and it controls, it manifests itself in the physical world. Steve Vai knows the stuff. I was watching this video, and I understood where he was coming from, and he explained the second rule of what Sherry Wild told me that the Greys told her, but he explained it in such the most profound way that I finally realized, my God, Steve Vai knows. Yeah. He knows this. And I already knew this anyway because, I followed Steve Vai. I was a fan of Steve Vai back in the 80s. And he gave out, his first lessons that he sent out were called Alien Love Secrets. And he even put out an album called Alien Love Secrets. He's also talked about lucid dreaming and how he used it when he was writing Passion of Warfare. Lucid dreaming is very key in the UFO world because I do it too. So I already knew this. Plus, the other information that I know, because Michael Lee Hill, he actually won a guitar contest, a Steve Vai guitar contest where Steve Vai had a song that he wanted a cover. People do a cover of a certain song, and whoever did it the best ended up winning a Steve Vai guitar and got to meet Steve Vai. Guess what? Michael Lee Hill won.
Wow.
He went and he met with Steve Vai, and Michael shared with me that Steve Vai knows a lot more than what he actually goes public with.
That's amazing. I wonder how old Steve Vai was, or sort of what were the circumstances that led him to believe. Maybe he had his own experience. Like, what was it like meeting Steve? Like, were you disappointed? Like, you know how you meet like a rock star you've looked up to, and sometimes they come around the corner and they're like bitching out somebody, and they just come off like a total dick. Was he nice? Like, did you walk away with a good impression? Do you feel like you're like his friend now? Is it a different kind of relationship?
Well, I've actually, I've never met Steve Vai yet. What happened was Mark from the Neck Illusions, who have my neck graphics on my guitar, the DNA double helix.
Show us. Can you show us real quick?
Up here.
Oh, that thing is amazing. Wait,
I'll show you.
Yeah, bring that down.
Yeah, I've got it's a design on my guitar neck, which is this double helix DNA strand, and this was given to me in a download shortly after I found out from my UFO sighting that I was the only one in contact with the craft. Very shortly after that, I had this dream where I saw my guitar was being handed to me by these three Greys, and it had this DNA symbol on the neck of the guitar. And I thought, wow, that looks really cool. But I don't know how that would even be possible to do that on a guitar. Well, then, coincidentally, or as I say, once again, the importance of synchronicity, 3 days after I had that dream, I was followed by Neck Illusions, who have a custom patent on neck graphics. Wow. And not only did they create the design that I saw in my dream, exactly how I saw it, but they gave me an endorsement deal. But
wow. That is amazing. Oh my God. So is that like a sticker basically that goes on the neck, or how does that work? Is that like a clear sticker?
It's a very advanced like sticker. It sticks to the fretboard. It doesn't glue to the fretboard. It just sticks really well, and it comes right off.
Wow.
But it actually enhances my playing. It makes my playing better.
How does that work with like the frets? Do they cut it? Do they cut it every time there's like a fret marker, or how does that work? The sticker, does it go over it?
It's just a sticker, and the sticker goes right over the fret.
Oh, okay, wow. I got to get me one of those, man. How much for one of those jobs, like a custom sticker for your neck?
I think it's only like $20.
Really? And can you submit custom designs, or?
What's that?
You could do like a custom design?
Yeah, you can do custom designs. They got tons of designs on their website. If you go to neckillusions.com.
Do they by any chance skin guitars, like the actual body? Like a sticker type thing with that?
Stuff for the body of the guitar?
Yeah.
I think he might be, well, actually no, not for the body of the guitar, but he is starting to do designs for pedals actually.
Okay, because I was thinking about having like a contest for my podcast, RAWKHOUSE, and I don't know if you can see the banner behind me, but I'd like to actually wrap the body of like a black guitar. I have the guitar in the logo that you see behind me, so it's like kind of offset a little bit, you know. And then I was thinking maybe it'd be pretty dope to have the words RAWKHOUSE down the neck or something like that. I don't know. I'm just thinking about it.
Well, you can definitely do that.
Okay.
Yeah, you can definitely do that. Have RAWKHOUSE across the neck.
Now, can you play for us today? Are you equipped to actually play some shit for us right now? Like, what do you think, man? You got an amp, you got a guitar. I see a chord.
What?
What's the problem?
Am
I putting you on the spot? I put him on the spot. So no.
Yeah, unfortunately I can't right now.
Okay.
I wanted to finish off.
Yeah, go ahead.
What's that?
I just wanted you to bring the guitar down.
I was going to tell you about with Steve Vai. Basically, he is interested in working with Neck Illusions. He's got a prototype that he's been playing with.
Damn, talk about a hookup, man. Holy shit. You hooked them up.
And Mark went to... What's that?
You hooked them up pretty nice. Getting Neck Illusions a deal with Steve Vai, dude. You can't top that, man.
Well, Steve Vai he's interested in working with Neck Illusions, and he might be endorsing the company.
Wow.
Which is fantastic. So what happened was Mark met with Steve Vai about 3 weeks ago to give some new prototypes for Steve Vai to test out. And I know that Steve Vai actually used one of those prototypes on his guitar for the last Passion and Warfare show.
Wow.
So if you felt comfortable playing with it on stage, then that's a good sign.
Now, do you think there's any chance that you could negotiate a deal with Steve Vai, maybe get him to guest feature on a track or like do a solo on one of the next Pyramids on Mars projects? Has that been discussed at all?
Well, what actually I want to do is I want to tour with Steve Vai. That's ultimately what I want to be able to do.
Okay.
So, but what happened was the other reason why Mark wanted to meet with Steve Vai was to introduce Steve Vai to me. That was a huge one of his biggest goals. And so he brought my CDs with him. He brought a whole bunch of brochures and stuff of my stuff. The picture of me with a UFO. We didn't get into that, but I was photobombed by a UFO last year during a photo shoot.
Do you happen to have that photo like on your phone or something that we could see?
Yeah, if you go to my Twitter page, Pyramids on Mars _ and look at my picture.
Okay.
You click on the picture and highlight it up and blow it up. You'll see the picture with the craft in the background.
And it's not just like a dot, like it's not like a swamp gas or anything. I mean, is it a clear wow?
It's when you look at it, it's obvious that it's not a bird, it's not a plane. It's a spherical metallic object with this strange, weird teardrop energy formation around it.
Wow, you don't see
That's
that.
how I can explain it.
Unbelievable. So basically, you're getting constant reaffirmation that this is part of like who you are, and it's almost like a mission for you. Like you need to keep going with this. What's the scoop with Pyramids on Mars? Do you have another? I know you've been busy. You're putting together some lessons, like a lesson program on the internet, or that you could buy via DVD or whatnot. But what's the future of Pyramids on Mars? What's the future of the band?
Well, what I'm working on this year is I'm writing my third album. So that's my biggest project for this year is to get my third album out and promote my online guitar lessons. So I spent a year and a half working on my online guitar lessons. They're half of them are already up, and I finished the other half over Christmas. and I'm really excited about what it is that I'm teaching because it's very unique. And people are, any guitar player who wants to like not sound like another guitar player, check out my lessons because they're really different. Because my influence, as I said, are come directly from the real source, from Bach and Vivaldi and Paganini and those guys.
Now, how good do you have to be? Like, do you have to can a beginner appreciate your lessons, or do you have to be like a certain level already before you can apply what you're teaching?
These are intermediate to advanced. Yeah, they're intermediate to advanced. Because the stuff I'm teaching, I'm kind of already making an assumption that you know how to play your scales, and you kind of know at least your major and minor on all positions of the neck. So it kind of starts from there. I teach a lot of arpeggios, sweep picking arpeggios, string skipping arpeggios, and stuff like that. So there's a lot of arpeggios that I teach that are different fingerings than what other guitar players are using. I also teach a lot of symmetrical scales that Steve Vai uses, that a lot of like other guitar players use, and it helps you start looking at the neck differently. And the amazing things that you can actually do in the guitar when you start playing symmetrical scales.
Now, Kev, at your level, do you feel like you still have room for growth in your guitar playing? Like, if you were to sort of like graph it out, like on a curve, would you say that you're peaked out in your ability, or that you have room for further growth, or that you have a lot of room for more growth? Like, how do you judge yourself as a guitar player, technically speaking, musically speaking, as a musician, and where you'd like to be?
Well, I released Echo Cosmic in September of 2015, and then I started to reinvent myself on the guitar and really discover myself. And it was from listening to a lot of Bach and Vivaldi, and I wanted my guitar to sound more like a violin. And so I started experimenting with these different ways of playing the guitar to play more violin melodies and harpsichord melodies. And that's when I really started to play. All of a sudden, my playing was just really changing, and I started coming up with all this really cool stuff. And I started to document it all. And I have like tablature notation, so whenever I would come up with something new, I would go and I would tab it out, and that would be a new lesson. And I ended up completely reinventing myself with what I do. And even after I finished making these lessons and I videotaped all the lessons and I put it all together, I'm still getting influenced by watching my stuff. I'm influencing myself. So that's how great these videos are. So I'm always, whenever I pick up the guitar, I'm always end up creating something new, or something to add to my playing style, and then I go and I immediately tab it out, the idea, so that I can remember it next time, and then I keep practicing and practicing until it becomes part of my subconscious.
Now, you actually said something last time we talked that rubbed off on me, and that I've actually been applying in my own practice. I've been practicing the bass like just for a few months now, and it stuck with me, man, and I really love it. And it was something to the effect that, when you practice your instrument, you don't have to just do like the scales, like note for note, and just kind of run through the routine, but rather like feel the music and make it musical while you're practicing. Do you remember talking about that at all? So it was really, it added to my practicing, where I actually enjoy practicing now. So I don't just do da 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 da, but I try to make it like a musical thing, and it helps because it actually challenges you and it forces you to learn a different control, timing, and feel while you're practicing. I think I really like that.
Yeah, I think we were talking about don't practice your guitar. Play your guitar.
Yeah, exactly, man.
And making your playing play melodies, basically. Don't play scales. That's what it's about. So, and I learned that from listening to Yngwie Malmsteen. And when I found out that Yngwie Malmsteen's never practiced a day in his life, and then I figured, okay, now I understand why. because all he does is just sit there and he plays melodies and plays and plays. So, yeah, sure, you get to a certain point where you're like learning a new technique and stuff, but you work on that technique and you make it musical. You don't make it an exercise.
I love it, man.
So, and just by playing melodies, you're working several muscles. You're working your fingers, obviously, and your picking hand, but you're also exercising your brain by creating something that's musical and using your creativity.
Right. Hey, Kev, listen.
So it activates everything.
Thank you, man. I wanted you to know that I actually did take that from the last time we talked, and I am applying that in my own practices, and I recommend that any musician do that when they're practicing too, because it adds a whole nother dimension to it, and I think it makes you better in more ways than one. We actually have to wrap it up because we're running out of tape. I just got the signal from my producer. And I just wanted to give you an opportunity to quickly sort of plug your guitar lessons, because I really do think that they would help. I know a lot of guitar players out there that they can only benefit from it. I would love just plug your website. Where can people find out more about what you're into and what you've got going on with your career? And I hope that you're like a friend of the show, like one of the first friends of the show. I hope that continues. If you ever want me on your show, let's talk, man.
Yeah.
And maybe, seriously, man, it's an ongoing topic. It's always interesting to me, and I'd like to help out in any way that I can without coming off looking like the tinfoil hat-wearing host. So thank you so much. Go ahead, plug whatever you'd like, and we'll talk to you soon.
Sure, yeah. Everything can be found at my website at www.pyramidsonmars. My music's there is obviously, and links to my CDs, but there's links on the first page it'll take you right to my guitar lessons. So it'll say, Pyramids on Mars guitar lessons. You click on that, it'll take you right to the page, and all my guitar lessons have trailers, so you can listen to every single trailer of lessons and get a feeling of what it is that I'm teaching.
Awesome.
And the lessons themselves is really cheap. I mean, if you go to a store and you take one lesson, it's going to cost you about $16 to $18 for a half-hour lesson. You can get full access to all my lessons for merely a monthly subscription of $10.99.
Wow. Cancel at any time. Cancel.
So there you go. I mean,
you can cancel at any time.
Yeah. Oh, you can't. Yeah.
It's not one of those deals where you hope people forget they registered and just pay the $10 for the rest of their life. That's happened to me.